So in this video, what I'm going to be doing is explaining how I went about downloading and installing Warzone for both Android and iPadOS. Now in this instance, iPadOS is the same as iOS as well. Now to be clear before I go any further, this is not an installation guide video or a how-to video. And the reason why is because like on this channel, I just simply don't get enough views or subscribers in order to warrant the time to take, like, to do installation guides and stuff like that. If that changes in the future, then yeah, I'll consider doing stuff like that on this channel, as well as like what I do on my other channels for stuff like that. However, the thing with this video, if you are somebody who is kind of familiar with these types of things, some of the information that I give here may well be useful to you once you kind of like go down the route of trying to install it for your device and stuff. Also, some of the things that I talk about in this video, there will be links in the video description below. Okay, so to start off with then, Android, and for that I am using the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra there. Now the thing with this, you can kind of do this, it's quite straightforward, but what it requires is for you to download an APK from somewhere other than the Play Store. Now, I would never ever suggest that anybody ever download software or installers from anything other than the Google Play Store as far as Android is concerned. So in this instance, what I done was to wipe the phone, create a new Google account which didn't have any kind of information, personal or banking and stuff like that. So if I did download anything stupid on the phone, it's not going to be able to do anything other than wreck that particular Google account. So basically started off with a new Google account, then I downloaded this APK installer. Once again, there'll be a link to where I got that from in the description below. Now that installer, I think, was about 800, 900 megs in size, something like that. Now once that installer starts running, it will connect to the servers at this point in order to download the rest of the files. Now, when it does that, you might think, hey, your luck's in here, it's all working. Well, it will download the game, but it most certainly won't play until you put a VPN in. Anyway, so it downloads the game and what have you. But at that point, once the game is all installed, it won't run unless you are in one of those designated areas for where the beta is running. Now, right now, the closest area for me is Sweden. So what I then done was to download a VPN, and then I set that to Sweden. So basically what that then allowed me to do was, after the game had installed, it then allowed me to then go logging in. Now at the point of logging in, you will have to have like, a Call of Duty account. So what you do, you set that up, and you have to set up two-factor authentication as well. What will happen, you'll probably get stuck on like the first screen once the game starts going in, and there's nothing on there that tells you that you have to have two-factor authentication switched on. So yeah, you have to set up two-factor authentication in order to get past that stage there. And then what happens, once you install the two-factor authentication system, the first time that you then load into the game, it will go through the two-factor thing, and you do that, and then it'll then start loading into the game proper then. Now after that point, you may have to use two-factor again at some other point, but I've kind of like gone into it after like the first go, and it was fine. It just kept on going in after that. I think maybe if certain things change, like maybe you connect via a different like DNS or server or something like that, it may then require another two-factor. But that's probably the biggest stumbling block, to be honest, is the two-factor and all the authentication first of all. Now, once you're actually into the game, depending upon where you are away from like the servers that you're connecting to, you may have a massive like latency or ping, which is going to cause all kinds of lags and stuff. I mean, for me personally, it's okay at the moment because I'm just kind of getting a feel for the thing, and that's all good. Okay, so that's basically the Android side of stuff nailed. Now, as far as iPadOS is concerned, what I'm using here is an iPad Pro M1. Now, what I'm going to explain here will be the same as well for iOS, so the iPhones and that. Now, it's a bit easier on iPad and stuff, but The thing is, you have to have an account set up in one of the regions where like beta is available. I'll keep referring to Sweden for this video because that's where I've set my VPN, and also where I've set up a new account as well with Apple. Now the thing at this point, you could change your account settings inside your iPad or your iPhone. I wouldn't recommend that because you're going to start like messing around. So if you're like in the States or something, then you start saying you're in Sweden, you got to put a different Swedish address in and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just not worth the messing around as far as I'm concerned. However, because I've got like a number of iPads, what I done was I wiped out this iPad and then started fresh. Now, I did have to go to a website where basically I'd done a Google search, something like generate a random Swedish address. So I got a random Swedish address and a random phone number, which was a Swedish phone number. And then what I'd done, I used those to set up a new Apple account. So at that point, the iPad is basically recognized as being in Sweden. So as far as the Play Store is concerned, or sorry, the Apple App Store, as far as that's concerned, the iPad then connects to whatever's available for Sweden at that point. So no matter where you're located, because the iPad is registered like under a Swedish account, you get to see all the Swedish app variations on the App Store and stuff. So at that point, Warzone is actually available in beta form directly to download from those sites which are inside like the beta locations, obviously, which Sweden is. So you literally directly download it straight to the iPad, no messing around. Now at that point, again, it's about a 700 or 800 megabyte download, and then once it's downloaded, it then goes and retrieves all the rest of the data. Once again, I think around 7 gigabytes, something like that. But after that point, once again, you still have to have a VPN. And once again, as it was with the Android, I just put a VPN on and then set that to basically say that I was in Sweden. So obviously then the servers would think that I was in Sweden and I was able to then play the game. Once again, same thing, you have to go through there as well with the two-factor authentication and stuff like that, and like use a two-factor authentication software. You're best off probably putting it on the device that you use, and it just makes it a bit easier to be able to kind of like copy any of the keys back over when you have to do the authenticating and stuff like that. Now, again, with the iPad, it just suffers the same thing as what it does on Android, which is you're going to have serious lag, all kinds of weirdness like that. But once again, for me, it's worth it because it gives me a really good inroad and a good feel for what the game's going to be like in the future. I mean, to be honest, it's not actually that bad at the moment either. And despite the fact I've got latency of about 120 odd millisecond, which is ridiculously high for doing any kind of competitive game, and I've actually won the first few games that I've actually played. So I'm either playing against really bad people or people who are in like worse like ping areas than I am. So it's not that bad for getting a good feel for it. Anyways, I think that's the bottom line with this video. It was just to let people know that there are a number of different stages that you have to go through in order to put Warzone on either like an Android device or an iPad or an iPhone. Now also, I will be doing a number of videos over the next couple of weeks or so to do with both of these devices with Warzone on, and I'm probably likely to go absolutely mental for Warzone once it comes out officially. So if you're into stuff like that, or just generally any kind of like gamey type stuff, you may want to like sub to the channel. Like I say, if the channel does build up more, I will do like more of my in-depth videos, which is what I do on other channels. And like, quite often they can be like very useful, kind of like installation guides for various things and stuff like that. Anyways, I've rabbited on enough here and I need to get off and play Warzone, and I've got to be dead honest, it actually plays better on iOS and iPad for now as well. That might change on the official release, who knows, but in general I do think that for mobile gaming, Apple have got that nailed as far as like picture quality and frame rates are concerned and stuff like that. Anyways, that will open up a big tin of worms and I'm not going to go there. So I'm Dave at The Game Thing. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.